Hey, what's up, y'all? Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. Oh, probably the last day in a while I'm going to wear a t-shirt, but I'm just going to enjoy it. Look, folks, hopefully this all comes together. I got to go to church here in a little bit, and I just had some thoughts in my mind over some of the things I've been thinking over the last couple of weeks, and maybe it might be a blessing to somebody, maybe not. At the end of the day, folks, just keep in mind, I'm not out here just preaching to you. I'm talking to me. I mean that. So these are cathartic for me. And I'm training myself as I'm telling everybody else what I'm thinking. So I guess the topic I want to talk about right now is why we never doubt the bad, but we always doubt the good. You ever notice that? You never, ever, ever doubt. When you have a bad thought about things that may happen, you never have any doubt on that. Anybody ever considered that? I know I haven't often enough. I mean, I guess this is something strange about human nature. We are more apt to believe, I think, the bad outcomes are guaranteed long before we'll ever consider the good ones are even possible. I mean, think about it. You tell somebody, hey, bro, I think things are going to turn around for us or for you. And what do they say? Well, don't get your hopes up. Or the classic, be realistic or something along that line. But if you say, man, I bet this whole thing is about to fall apart. The car is going to break down. The deal's going to collapse. We're probably going to get audited by the IRS or pick any other tragedy. Everybody just nods their head in agreement like you just delivered a prophecy. And I had a friend recently just behave almost exactly the same way. So why is negativity so believable? And we treat hope like it's some kind of fairy tale. We've been trained into doubt. I really believe that. We don't call it training, but I think that's exactly what it is. But, instead we call it being grown or being realistic. But I think most of us have been taught to expect disappointment. And I've often wondered where that transition happens, because as a kid, you don't believe those things. Was it at home? Was it in the compulsory education system like John Taylor Gatto would probably claim? I don't know where it happens, but there is a transition that seems to happen from being a child into adulthood. But maybe, as a kid, from the time we're kids, we're taught, don't get too excited. Life isn't fair. Nothing good lasts. If it seems too good to be true, yeah, I've always loved this one. If it seems too good to be true, it always is, or probably is. I've always hated that ever since I was a kid. But how many times, you've heard all those things, but how many times has anybody ever pulled you aside and said, you know what? Good things are on the way. Miracles always happen. I've always struggled with that one, despite having seen miracles, I believe myself. Your life can change for the better. You never hear that one. And basically saying your life could change for the better just as fast as it could change for the worse. But nobody ever says that. No, negativity, and once again, folks, I am definitely talking to me on this one, which is why I practice so hard to do the opposite. But negativity always seems to get free rent in our minds. But positivity has to show ID and, offer a cover charge before we let it in the house. I get it. There's always going to be those awful experiences that sting. I was just thinking about my friend, embarrassing experiences like a buddy of mine years ago. Check this out. He had taken his girlfriend that he had hoped to marry to the state fair, county fair. I don't remember which it was. We're talking 35 years ago, I think. And his girl ran off with the Ferris wheel operator. Now, folks, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but man, if those aren't lyrics to a country song, I don't know what is. Anyway, because of something that happened 35 years ago, he's always expecting the other shoe to drop in personal relationships. And that guy is lonely to this day. Let's be honest. If your car makes a weird noise, what's your first thought? If you're like me, you're probably thinking the fuel pump, the transmission, head gasket, or these days, maybe it's a part on these newer vehicles that you can't even pronounce, but it's going to cost you $900. But if somebody hands you a compliment, your mind says, oh, they're just being polite, or they don't really mean it. Or, like my brain goes, you start thinking, and this is the enemy working, I start thinking I don't actually deserve it. And I'm embarrassed to a certain extent. And the only reason is because me and you have been conditioned to believe it. Think how sick this is. We trust failure more than we trust a blessing. If somebody tells you, hey, I think you're going to get laid off, you start losing sleep. You call 5 people. You start Googling, how do I live in a tent or an off-grid shed? But if somebody says, hey, I think something good is coming your way, what do you say? Well, don't jinx it. We treat hope like it's fragile, but somehow we treat fear like it's a fact. Remember, we aren't given a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And yes, part of it is cultural conditioning. I mean, turn on the news, everything's terrible. Just scroll social media, talk to your family. Half of them they don't believe things can ever improve, and the other half are waiting for things to explode, and neither of them are taking the advice that I've given in the previous videos, where it requires just a minimal effort to improve even the littlest things in our lives. But here's the thing. Bad things might happen, but good things also might happen. We're just too busy, I think, embracing for the disaster that we never make room for the blessings. It's like standing at the front door of your home with a shotgun every single night, just in case a burglar shows up, but completely ignoring the Amazon guy who just showed up every day with gifts you already paid for. I guess faith isn't the absence of fear. Faith is choosing not to worship that fear. I mean, think about it. You don't go out and plant a garden while saying at the same time, well, why bother? You don't do that. You plant with the expectation to harvest no matter what happens. Why don't we do that in life? We plant doubt and somehow expect joy. We feed fear and somehow expect peace. And folks, this is the biggest one for me. And nothing makes it more clearer to me than going back through the book of James and pretty much the whole Bible in so many different ways. But we unwittingly, sometimes wittingly, but a lot of times unwittingly speak curses and somehow expect blessings. It just occurred to me that there was a guy that wrote in a book, and I just remember this. Love could be a moment of stillness that even the slightest words can shatter to fragments. Or it could be a thing that endures, a rich, deep current that flows unending down through the years. So it comes down to choice. And then we somehow wonder why everything feels so doggone heavy. In full disclosure, folks, I'm not going to lie. I'm laying myself bare here, hopefully not to some regret later, but the hardest thing in my life has been trying to rewire my brain, despite all the things I've ever done. It's been trying to rewire my brain to lean towards positivity in my thoughts and discard the negativity that I was raised with, that you don't even have to work for it. It just pops right in there. And I didn't even know that I had control over such things until about 3 years ago. So here's a radical thought. Shouldn't be radical, but it's going to seem that way. What if the good in your life isn't too good to be true? What if it's just finally your turn? What if God isn't just maybe dangling stuff in front of you as a joke? But what if you're not actually behind, but you're just being prepared for something bigger? My friend Raul tends to think of things that way, and it's very helpful. What if the reason you doubt the good is because you've been conditioned to expect the opposite? We actually rehearse disaster. I mean, think about it. I got a podcast, the Permaculture Pimpcast, where we talk about permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. Yeah, rehearsing disaster is very important, but it occurred to me that we've never really we always play out the worst case scenario before anything bad even happens. we'll seriously give ourselves maybe a 10-minute TED Talk about how the whole trip that you're planning to go on with the family is going to get canceled. Or, which is kind of realistic right now, I get it. The deal's going to fall through. Maybe the person you're relying on is going to disappoint you. The engine's going to blow out. The government's going to ruin everything. Yeah, those are all realistic things, but maybe we spend a little bit too much time on them. But seriously, how often do we rehearse a blessing? Do we ever sit and say, you know, what if it all works out better than I expected? What if this moment is the turning point? What if the doctor calls with good news? What if the child, one of my big concerns was, what if the child actually grows up to be wise? And what if God is actually for me and not against me? How many people in the sound of my voice have ever been taught to practice these things? I know I certainly wasn't. And just like everything else, what you don't practice, you don't believe. On that score, I do want to give a massive hat tip to people like Ed Milet, who have made the biggest difference in my world in training me to think the very opposite of what I've been taught to just accumulate over time. So folks, let me break it down right here. You're not cursed. You're just conditioned, just like me. And what you have learned, you can unlearn. I really believe that. So the next time your brain just goes straight to fear, just ask one thing. What if something good is actually about to happen? I mean, say it out loud. I mean it. I mean, I do. I mean, it's like you're speaking a foreign language, but do it. That's how you know it's needed. So you don't have to deny that bad things are going to happen. Just stop treating them like they're inevitable. Folks, it just occurred to me to try this thought experiment. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's do it. And I want you to work with me. So if you're driving, don't play along. I want you right now to close your eyes. Take a deep breath, let it out. And I want you to imagine the worst case scenario. Open your eyes. Now, I want you to close your eyes once again. Take a deep breath. And I want you to imagine your wildest abundance. Open your eyes. Now, I gave you twice as much time to imagine a positive scenario and I'll bet most of you couldn't even do it. It's not your fault. Don't get down on yourself. It's just telling you that you got work to do. You know how I knew it would work? Because I did it on myself, and I'm training. I'm working on this stuff. That's how embedded the negativity is. If I can't at least take the equal amount of time to imagine something positive as I did the negative, what does that tell you what's hardwired into you? I really believe you can imagine a breakthrough. It just takes practice. And if you can believe everything's just going to fall apart, well, can't you equally believe that everything's going to come together? Hope isn't being naive. Doubt, in my view, is just lazy conditioning. Well, let me say it a better way. I think it's lazy conditioned faith. And it's faith, I think, that's more embedded than the positive things. So if you're going to doubt something, don't doubt in God's love. Don't doubt in goodness. Don't doubt in the harvest you may have out there. Maybe we should start doubting the doubt. Now take a breath, unclench your jaw, and just remember, you survived every bad day so far. I tell myself this. Maybe it's time to start expecting some good ones. All right. Amen to that. At least I hope it was coherent, and I hope it's a blessing to so many of you out there. All right, I got to get to church. Until next time, y'all, stay alert, stay alive. We'll see you.